And the poor man died and was carried to the bosom of Abraham. The readings today speak to us about the necessity of doing our duty. A few moments ago, when we start Mass, when we come to the penitential act, together with me you say the Confiture. And in that Confiture you say, for things I did with my mind, with my lips, with my heart, and things that I did not do. So sin is not something that you do, even the absence of doing. And that is exactly what the gospel is all about today. The rich man is not judged because he is rich. The rich man is not judged because he eats every day good meals. The rich man is not judged because he dressed properly and dressed very finely. The rich man is not being judged because he is who he is, but because he failed to care. Lazarus was at his table waiting for the crumbs to fall, that even the dogs will come to lick his sores, and he will try to find what left from the table, what fall from the table to eat. But now the picture is turned. The rich man dies and he is in the netherworld. The poor man died and he is in the bosom of Abraham. Of course, the rich man, seeing Lazarus there, who recognized because he used to come to his doors for what left over, he asked Abraham to send him so that he will dip his finger, so that he will put it on his tongue with water, because he is tormented. He cannot do that, because you have your gain in life, he has his misery. Now you have your misery, he has his gain. And after all, there is a distance between us that we cannot cross. Well, then send him to my father's house. I have 5 more brothers who are acting and living the same style I was living. Because if someone from the dead will rise, they will listen to him. But Abraham, in the name of God, said to him, they have Moses and the prophets. If they don't listen to them, neither if somebody from the dead will come, they will listen. And we know for sure that somebody from the dead came to life, and people are not still listening. Jesus died and rose, and we're still not listening to his message. The message of compassion and love that we prayed in the opening prayer. That message that Jesus manifested so beautifully during his lifetime. His heart was moved with pity for people who are going through hardship. He was doing so much for these people because he was beside himself. How come these people who profess faith and profess they believe in God, and they see their fellow man in this distress, and they don't do anything to help them? That's why the story that she said about this rich man and was given to us. And that story was reinforced by the first reading today. If you remember, last week we began reading from the prophet Amos. And Amos today is in the north, trying to correct the injustice of being done to the poor. For those who are working so hard and get very little for their income, that they can survive their families and themselves. And today, remember what the Lord said. They live on ivory beds, they dress splendidly, but let me tell you, you are going to pay for this. And that is the idea of the judgment. That everything we do on the face of the earth, we think that is going to be done with, because after all, nobody knows. there is somebody who knows, and that's the one who created you for a mission. He created you with a mission, and that mission is the mission of Christ. Always remember the words of Saint Teresa of Avila. Jesus is still among us. He does not have teeth, he has no hands, he has no eyes, and that is you who have eyes and feet. And he is using you for continuing to be present in the world today. Today, as you know, the diocese all over the United States is trying to make us aware of the issue of emigration. How many people are leaving their homes because of different situations, especially because of faith also, because we don't say that in our talks, how many Christians are suffering, dear people. And they are leaving because of different way of politics, and sometimes even the way the crops is not being produced for them, and they are knocking at the doors of America. I'm not going to go into politics. This is not my role. But we need to understand that these are human beings, and we need to look at them as human beings, not as animals. And we need to reach out to them as much as we can. America cannot take all these people. It's impossible. Impossible. There's thousands and millions of people who constantly is at the border. But let me tell you one thing, and that's very important, that we need to recognize the dignity of these people. We don't treat them like they are trash. And this is exactly what the Lord is trying to say to us today in that gospel. It fits so very well with the liturgy. Lazarus is still knocking at your door. That was the words of Saint John Paul II in 1979 when he came to America. At that time we know that the Holy Father was aware of the blessing that God gave to this nation. That we have more, that we have more than enough. But sometimes we are not doing enough for people. And so I ask you in a very special way to really make examination of conscience and try to understand that what God provides for you and for me is not just for me to be rich, but for me to share with those who are less fortunate. God bless you.